Hey, Clem, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, good deal.
Can hear you as well.
Fantastic.
All right, well, good morning, everybody. There's a few on. So we're gonna give it a couple minutes, probably a little after 7, just to just wait for as much people to come on as possible, and then we'll get started.
Hey, Clem. I believe
Yeah,
I'm sharing my screen. Can you see that on
yeah,
your end?
yeah. I can see
Okay.
it. I can see it. Cool.
Okay, great.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Once again, I'm just gonna give it like 2 more minutes. Just give other people a chance to hop on. We have a few people coming on, so in about 2 minutes we'll get started.
Hey, Jane, how's it going?
Hey, just wanted to give a quick reminder, not all of us are going to be seeing your screen, so we'd appreciate some verbal description of whatever it is that you guys are seeing on there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thank you, Jane.
Thanks a
Yep.
lot.
Yeah, and as always, if you have any questions, so like you're needing any clarification, feel free to absolutely please speak up. So,
Thank you. Now let's see if I can lower this hand. There we go.
and good morning, by the way. So,
Okay, so while we're waiting for a few more people to filter in, so I'm gonna get started. I'm just gonna do some introductions. So my name is Clem Neely. I'm the mobility marketing coordinator here at MetroLink Tulsa, and I have a few people from our team today. We're going to be doing a short presentation on some of the changes that we have coming up next month. So, like Chase said, if you have any questions or concern about or concerns, just let us know. Um, and speaking of, we have Mr. Chase Phillips. He's going to be presenting today. He is the director of the planning department, and he also works with Casey that we have here. And additionally, we also have Brianna McCutcheon, who's the marketing manager, and also Rebecca Wallner. She's the CFO. Um, so yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it over to you, Chase.
okay, all right. Well, good morning, everyone, and again, thank you for showing up at this early hour. So some of you may have already been up for quite some time, but for those of you who aren't normally up this early, I thank you for that. So, as Clem said, we're going to start off with just talking about our April 2025 service changes. If you're not familiar with that process, so we do this 3 times a year. So basically, every April, every August, and every December, we take all the information that we've learned about our services, feedback from customers, especially um, noted improvements, whether that's operational things, maybe we're having issues with reliability on bus routes, that kind of impacts the schedule, any of that type of stuff. We take all that feedback, and over the course of 4 months, in between those 3 times, we try to implement those changes as best as possible. We often think we have a pretty good idea of what might need to happen, how to accommodate all and balance all those requests and needs, but we don't always get it right. And at the end of the day, we want to certainly hear back from our ridership, right? Like the public. You're paying for this service, so we want to take this to you, and we want you to be um, one, we want to be transparent and forthcoming with these ideas, but also we want your just your honest feedback. So, so again, just kind of overall, so kind of how this process goes. So we developed proposed changes. Right now, we're going through our public meetings, right, to discuss those proposals. We've got 3 of those this time. So we did one yesterday at Denver Avenue Station on March 10th. Today, you found us here, March 11th, the virtual meeting. And then we're going to do another in-person public meeting on March 12th at our Midtown Memorial Station. So, and we're going to evaluate all this public feedback, and ultimately we'll decide kind of what changes go live. That'll happen on April 13th. So all these changes will be effective on April 13th. So, and we don't have a whole lot on the docket this time, but just as a quick overview, so I'm going to just kind of quickly describe the 3 changes, and then I'll go into more detail about each one of those. So we have 3 changes on the fixed route local bus side. And these range from a small, tiny change to a larger, more major, more significant service change. So we are affecting Route 201. We're really excited about that. We're actually the only change that's actually happening to that route is we're adding the airport. So we're really excited about that. On Route 112, and just to clarify, Route 201, that's the Pine Memorial route. So it goes from Denver Avenue Station north up to Pine Street. And then it goes a little farther east, but generally speaking, it goes about as far as Memorial as far as north and south. There's a little bit of a jog where it does kind of a 3/4 mile loop there. So, but that's the changes that we're making on that route, and I'll talk about those in a second. On Route 112, we are actually removing the downtown section of that route. Just over the course of the last year, perhaps even longer, that route really has kind of underperformed in terms of ridership and service levels. And as we have a limited budget with limited resources, and so we want to be the best stewards of that as we can. And so that was a change we kind of felt was necessary. Was removing that, which it actually improved the frequency, but we were able to kind of reallocate some of those resources actually to the 201 and add a bus on that route along with the drivers that needed to service that. So we removed the downtown section of the Lewis bus, Route 112, and that will be renamed 410, but we'll talk about that here in a second. The last fixed route local bus change that we're making is on Route 490. This one's very minor. So we're actually just changing the direction over on the Tulsa Hills side. We are only changing the direction in which we enter Tulsa Hills. So in the past, we'd always went down Highway 75 and then looped back up going northbound. And now we're basically doing that in reverse. So we'll actually enter off of 71st into Tulsa Hills going southbound. And then there will be a kind of a reverse loop, and we'll use the Highway 75 going northbound to 71st to get out of there. So again, that's a very small change. And the last of the 4 proposed changes that we're bringing to you today are in Zone 6. For those in West Tulsa, so we recognize that there's a commercial center that's kind of outside of the current boundary, Crystal City, and we've made a lot of expansions on Zone 6. We've been really proud of that. We think what we're doing a great job is with our new microtransit service, and we've kind of we've done that slowly to make sure that we can reliably provide the service that we put out on the street. And so we've kind of been semi-cautious in terms of when we've expanded that. But that's a change that we want to certainly make. And so that'll actually it'll be the Crystal City area, and then a little bit farther, like some of the residential neighborhoods that are just north of Crystal City. Those will be included in that change as well. This map is actually they're actually not on this proposed map if you can see it, but we'll have those final changes out pretty soon. But just note that the Crystal City area, as well as the surrounding neighborhoods north of that are within the city limits, will all be included in that change. So, all right, let's jump in a little bit more. Basically, I'm going to be going over what these services looked like before in terms of like how frequent they were, how long is your travel time, what geography is and isn't there. So on Route 201, so again, our Pine Memorial downtown to Midtown Station kind of connecting route. So we're adding the Tulsa Airport. So a little bit of backstory on this. We used to have service to the Tulsa Airport. It was removed back in 2019, I believe, whenever we did a large system redesign. And a little bit more backstory. The reason we did that was we looked at the ridership. Um, we looked at the ridership on it, and it was very low. It is geography, which means that's time, that's bus time, that's driver time. So that's costing us and our city as a whole to put service there, and so we just didn't feel like it was warranted. Uh-oh. Change the slide there. There we go. And so we removed that service about 6 years ago. But things have changed. The city's changed a lot. Jobs and employment centers and needs have changed. Even at the Tulsa airport, there's been a lot of development there. And so that is something that we really we did hear from the community that they wanted the service back to the airport. So so we felt like it was time to make that change. So again, so as of April 13th, we will have local bus service back to the airport, and we're really excited about that. So that'll be Monday through Saturday. Um, the frequency on weekdays, it'll be every 45 minutes, and on Saturday, it'll be every 65 minutes. And as far as like how long it'll take you to get around using that route, so from the airport, it's about a 35-minute trip to downtown. So again, that's a fairly short trip. We're kind of excited about that. We think that that'll be appealing. It creates an option to people who are traveling into Tulsa. They're able to use the bus to get back to the airport. Same thing for MMS. So it's a 25 trip to Midtown Station, which provides a lot of connection opportunities there too. But again, this is really a nothing but benefit here. There's virtually no service that was removed. Just mostly this is just all expansion and add-on. So we're really excited about that. And 201 is one of our more popular routes. We're excited to provide that service. Yep. So next slide. So Route 112, I'm sorry, Route 410 is what we're actually proposing this. It's Route 112 today. So we are removing the downtown extension. So if you're familiar with the Lewis bus, Route 112, so it goes all the way up Lewis, and about midway through, it turns on left on 3rd Street and goes into downtown, into Denver Avenue Station, where it turns around and comes back out and then continues on northbound or southbound, whichever direction it was heading. So we are removing the downtown section from that route. And again, kind of like I mentioned, I hinted at earlier, we got service standards that really help us understand how a route is performing, how well it's doing for the community, as well as just what type of service we're putting out on the street. We have parameters because we want to do as good as possible in our positions and being good stewards of our resources that we have. And so this was a change we felt like we really needed to make. That bus, it's a pretty long route, and I don't want to get too detailed here, but it is a really long route. And that means even at a kind of an infrequent headway, I believe it used to be 50 minutes. Today it's a 50-minute headway, Monday through Friday, and like a 75-minute headway on Saturdays. Even with that, it still consumed 3 buses, which that's how we, balance our resources and make sure that we're providing fast, reliable service. So we think about those things in terms of like numbers of drivers, numbers of buses that it requires to provide that specific service. And this one consumes a lot. And so we just really, and the ridership really didn't warrant that type of change. And so, so we felt like we could remove that section. And it actually was, I'm forgetting my dates now, but this was actually, this route was the 410 in the fairly recent past, actually. We added downtown not too long ago, maybe a year and a half or something like that. And it just to, that was a response to some of the customers, but we get some customers who don't want the service to go to downtown. So this was a balance that we thought we really needed to make. So overall, so the frequency will be a 55-minute headway on Monday through Saturday. So it'd be the same on the weekends as what it is during the week. As far as travel times, so it's roughly a 46-minute start to finish. So if you're starting southbound at 81st and Lewis, that Walmart that's down there, all the way up to Mohawk Manor and the 41st and Columbia area. So it's about a 46-minute trip all the way. And so That's a, that's a fairly short trip actually from a rider perspective if you take out that downtown section. So that's a benefit to riders that if you're not trying to go into downtown, and you have many options to get into downtown if you still use the Lewis route, you can still connect to Route 130. That's a short trip into downtown. The 11th Street, 21st Street buses. You've got plenty of connectivity there to get into downtown if you need to. So we felt that that was a little bit redundant. But again, kind of working within a constrained and confined budget, we felt that was a good change we needed to make. So, and my last of the fixed route changes, so local bus service, Route 490, and kind of what I had mentioned earlier. Really, this is a very minor change. We are just changing the direction in which we go into and out of Tulsa Hills. So it's going to enter into Tulsa Hills from 71st Street. It's going to enter into Tulsa Hills going southbound now on Olympia Avenue. And then it exits out northbound going Highway 75. But there's a pretty nice shelter that's actually over there, and this will allow us to utilize. Right now, anything that goes into that area only goes northbound, and this will allow us to kind of use another one of the shelters, and that's actually pretty nice. That was built for us in the past, and so yeah, we're kind of excited about this change, but it's very small. This is a very minor thing. Frequency is about 5 minutes more infrequent than what it is today. I believe today it's a 50-minute headway Monday through Saturday, and now it's going to be a 55-minute headway. It's a fairly small change, but again, this is going to be the same headway Monday through Saturday. So, and travel time, round trip, not round trip, but just one direction. I believe it's about a 47-minute trip from Tulsa Hills to Woodland Hills Mall. So again, the either end of line on this route, it connects to several other things. So, and they're pretty large destinations, both Tulsa Hills and Woodland Hills Mall. So that's a pretty short trip between those two destinations, connecting to lots of other routes as well. So, and the last change, so this is the only microlink change that we have this sign up. And it's kind of hard to see because this map here is actually designed for like a pretty high, 30,000 foot, plane view of the area. So it's fairly small, but we are adding Crystal City, the West Tulsa Shopping Center that's just on the other side of Highway 75, 44, just on the other side of 44 there, I believe. We're adding that. And then, so that will be included in the zone, as well as some of the adjacent neighborhoods that are also on that side of the highway, but kind of very close to the Crystal City area. So we're kind of excited about that. Again, our Zone 6 microlink zone has been it's been a huge success. We've been able to really provide a really good service that we feel like for the community. And microlink is a lower cost if you can keep your trips down. And so we're pretty excited about that. But it's also facilitated a lot of success on the local bus service there. Route 117, the ridership has actually gone up as well as the microtransit. And so we think that a lot of people are actually using both of those features. So we're pretty excited about that. And that's kind of really what we hope to see from microtransit as a complementary supporting one another with our local bus service. So we're pretty excited about that. Hours will be standard with what you see in much of our other microtransit service. Actually, Zone 6 is daytime and an evening Sunday service. So you're going to see this at all hours that we have service out there. So Monday through Saturday, that's going to be 6 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. Sundays, it will be 8 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And I think we got a few questions in the chat, but this is an overview of what the service map will look like for daytime and nighttime. Again, this is pretty small. The only real geography changes we had this sign up were the addition of the Tulsa Airport on Route 201 and the removing the downtown section on the Lewis bus, Route 112 or Route 410, either one of those. So it's the same name is changing. So and I'm going to go ahead and open us up to questions. Clem, I think we got a few. But what does our chat look like?
Yeah, so we have a few, I wouldn't say questions, I'd say more so comments.
Okay.
Um, but if you do have a question, you can put it in the chat, especially if it's related to the presentation. You can put a chat or you can just raise your hand. And I think Jane
Yeah.
had a question.
Yeah, Jane, go ahead. Go ahead. I think Clement, she should be, is she able to unmute herself?
Yeah, Jane, I think you're muted. I sent you a request to unmute.
Sorry, guys, I was having trouble unmuting. For some reason, I was tapping and tapping, and the damn thing just wasn't going anywhere. So, yeah, leave it to Jane to raise her hand in a meeting about transit, since that's what I do for a living. Well, I do independent travel, not transit, but my first question is about the 201 changes. Um, when you guys go into the airport, is it going to be going into the airport both ways? So if I'm coming from downtown to the airport, I can go straight into the airport without going to MMS. Or if I'm coming from MMS, can I go to the airport without going downtown? Or is it just going to be a circle and I have to go all the way around to get to the airport?
Yeah, no, it will go into downtown both directions. So whether you're heading from downtown to Midtown Station, or the reverse from Midtown Station to downtown, it's
Okay,
going to
so it
go into
goes
the
into the
airport both
airport from
directions.
both directions.
Yep.
Good, good. That
Yep.
wasn't
Yep. Yep.
really clear. And my second one is about Tulsa Hills. You're going to reverse that route or you're going to add a reversal. Does that mean you're going to have a bus going each way on Olympia?
No, it'll only be going southbound.
So
So
you're going to
on
take the
Olympia.
northbound bus and just reverse the route.
Just for that little loop. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
there are like two other bus routes that also go into Tulsa Hills that service that same street. And so they will
Okay.
continue to go northbound. I believe
Yeah.
Route 117, which is the Southwest Boulevard.
I thought 117 was the one we were talking about.
No, we were talking about Route 490. So that's the
Oh, now I
71st Street
get
route.
it. Oh, that makes it a lot clearer now that I know that. So
Yeah.
490 is going to come over from the ORU Walmart across 71st like it always does, but it's going to go south on Olympia and then go north on Highway 75. When it goes north on Highway 75, where's it going to exit the highway?
71st Street. Mhm.
Okay, so it is like a giant circle.
Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, that is amazing. I love it. I was thinking my 117, was going to let me off on the
Oh,
wrong side of the
yeah.
street from Target.
Oh yeah, no, 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 that's not the case. Yeah, yeah,
Good,
yep.
good, 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 good. That is actually a huge improvement. I am so grateful. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we're
Other than the
excited about it.
comments I put in the chat, those were my only two questions. The comments were basically just things that would help us a lot. Um, and if you guys want to read those later and take them into account. Also, I know that Oklahoma, not to compare Tulsa to Oklahoma City, because I know nobody likes that, but Oklahoma City has like a ridership advisory club, committee, council, whatever. And if Tulsa Transit was ever open to doing that, I would really love to help be a part of that. Something where you meet more frequently than 3 times a year, and might be able to get more community involvement. So just keep me in mind if you guys want to do that. And I'm going to mute myself and let somebody else ask a question.
Yeah, I mean, great feedback, Jane. I know that we have had like I wouldn't say they were a standing group in the past. Like it was, a committee of 6, 7 riders that really they met independently from us, but it was something that like our board recognized and we
Well,
acknowledged
the
their feedback.
pandemic kind of
But
made it fall apart, but we kept trying to include you guys. You just weren't coming to the meetings.
yeah, yeah, it was it has been some time, but that was during the pandemic when a lot of that kind of uh, yeah. So, but yeah, Jane, that great feedback, and let's talk more about that because I think we can figure out a good plan going forward. So yeah, and how's the best way to incorporate that feedback? So that would be great. So
All right, does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, so I just entered the Zoom. I forgot about our virtual meeting. The information about 490, will that be posted on the website? Because I ride that route to get to work at 65th and South Yale. Is there any changes with that?
Yeah, while you're here, if you can see the slide, I can really quickly give you a recap of the changes with Route 490.
Okay,
So
thank you.
yeah, so I'm showing the slide right now if you can see that. But basically, the only change that we're really making to Route 490 is today that route, as it enters off of 71st Street, it goes south on Highway 75 down to 81st and then comes up Olympia Avenue going northbound. And we're really just reversing that. So the route will actually go down. So it exits off of 71st Street as the bus is going west on 71st Street.
Hmm.
It'll turn onto South Olympia Avenue going southbound and continue all the way down to 81st, where it'll turn right going westbound and then immediately get on Highway 75 for that 1 mile going back up to 71st, where it'll exit and then continue on 71st the rest, basically the entire trip. So, yeah, so really just changing. The only thing that is really changing on 490 is how you get into and out of Tulsa Hills. That is
Okay.
reversing. Yep. So.
Oh, okay. So none of the stops are changing. Okay, that's good to know. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, and there is a shelter. Hey, Casey, if you can think about it, the name of that street, it's the one of the commercial. So there's a signal right not by one of the commercial complexes. I believe it's right across the street from Target.
Oh, okay.
There's a southbound shelter. It's right by a signal, so you've got a safe crossing. Um, it's actually, I would actually say it's a safer and more convenient place to catch the bus today than now than what we have today. So with this change, so
Gotcha. Any time changes?
the frequency is changing by 5 minutes. So it will be a new schedule. So make sure you look at your schedule and see and get all your time and schedule and everything right. The only real change to the frequency or the headway today it's 50 minutes, and with this change it'll be 55. We kind
Okay.
of built in a little bit more time on this route to make sure that it's a little more reliable. Over the last 4 months or so, we've noticed that this route has had some kind of reliability changes. So we tried to build some more time into that schedule and make sure that it's something that's manageable for our operators and reliable for our customers. So yeah,
Oh,
so
okay.
it'll come 5 minutes uh, less frequent. So
Okay, thank you for that. I appreciate that.
yeah, you bet.
There's no changes for 700 though, right?
No, no changes to the 700. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I see we have a few hands. Yes, CK Solomon, if you want to go ahead and ask your question, go ahead and unmute.
Okay, my thing is communication. We are here, like, I pay my $50 a month just like everybody else. And some people we rely on the Tulsa Transit to get us where we need to be on time. That's our means for transportation. So if we're paying this amount of money, I believe that we should be heard, and the whole it should be, what's the words I'm thinking? It should be for the customer. So I feel like your customer service should be better as to say, if I'm catching that 700 and I need that 490, to say, excuse me, 490, I have a passenger that is trying to catch you. Can you please look out for this person, or can you give me an estimated time or when you're going to be there? Or that's proper customer service. And a lot of these drivers, they don't know that, oh, we can't do that. But if they have their best friend sitting up there talking to them, they're like, oh yeah, I'll call them for you. Yeah, I got somebody waiting for you. No, it should be the same service all the way around. And I have to catch that 490. I have to catch 3 buses just to get to work every day, and it's ridiculous because I have to catch the 700, then I have to catch the 250, and then I have to go all the way to Walmart, and I have to get a microtransit because I have to take my daughter to school, and then I have to walk all the way from 61st and Mingo to 71st and Memorial just to get to work because there is not a microtransit that will go to that area because the 470 doesn't get me to work on time, but I have to have my daughter to school by 7:40. So I think that the communicate they like when the guy was saying earlier that they communicate, they try to work, they lean on each other, the 2 buses to try to connect and this, that, and the other. They
Mhm.
can't connect because they can't communicate to each other. So I mean, are you guys going to do something better to maybe rectify that so that they can communicate with each other or something?
Yeah, sure. So one, CK, I really am. I want you to know that we hear you. So I recognize the challenge that you're having, and having to use 3 different buses on a single trip. That can be pretty time consuming. So one, most of that communication, you're right, the buses themselves, I believe that they're not able to talk to each other directly. And that's kind of an industry standard. From what from what I'm aware of, most of that line of communication really needs to go through dispatch. But that practice should actually be going on today. So, and I'm sorry to hear that actually isn't working out for you. That's something we need to address. But our drivers, I mean, especially if you communicate, like if you walk up front or something and say to a driver, "Hey, I'm trying to connect from the 700 to the 490, and I'm about to miss it." If it's short, right? If they're not, because an operator on one of these routes, they can't hold up for too long, because then to make that accommodation, then downstream that affects everybody on that bus potentially. But if it's close, either they will certainly communicate with dispatch directly, and who kind of facilitates that communication with the other operator. And
They
actually misspoke. Operators can talk over a certain channel, but there's protocols for that between
they will
talking between
not.
each other.
They will not. If I am on that 490 and I'm trying to catch the 700 and it's sitting right there at Walmart, and I'd be
Okay.
like, "Can you please tell them to just to hold up so I can get off the bus and get to 700?" They will let the 700 drive off. They're like, "Oh, there's another one coming in 25, 30." How do you know I'm not trying to get to work or something? Like you just made me be 25 to 30 minutes late because you didn't ask them just to hold up for a second. I have a customer that's getting off my bus that's trying to get onto your bus.
Yeah, yeah. One, I misspoke. Our operators actually, there is an open channel. I'm not as familiar with like the protocols and like when they're able to communicate, but something like that is something they should be doing. So, one, again, that's probably up the discretion of between that operator and dispatch based on the schedules. But if you're saying that they can see a bus, I know that we've had timing issues on the Route 490. So I don't know if one of those directions, it's because they've just one of them's been running late. But either way, if that is something that we should be doing when possible. And so make sure, I don't know if you're familiar with our eAlerts platform, but that's how we file complaints. I would definitely encourage you to please file a complaint through
I
eAlert.
have
And
filed many complaints. I have,
okay,
you probably have a book of complaints that I have that have
okay,
put in. And that driver on that 490, he doesn't, I don't know what route he does or whatever on the meantime of the 490, but he doesn't get a lot of sleep because I've been I ride the 490 on the Saturdays when I have to go to work, and he's like falling asleep at the wheel, and he's like running
oh
over
man.
the curb and hitting the curbs and all that.
Okay, we'll make sure you said that's on site. We'll make sure to investigate that. Uh, you have here. I want to change slides here so you can see my contact information. And as far as like, I mean, definitely call into the customer service center as well. You can file a complaint there. Um, but feel free to shoot me an email and we'll make sure that we address that. So you're listing some safety things that aren't acceptable for us. So
Thank you.
yeah, so we'll make sure. And you said that was a 490 on
Yes.
Saturdays. Okay. Yeah, we
Yes.
will 100% look into it.
Chase, could you put those numbers down in the chat so we can copy and paste? Because they're not accessible to screen readers when they're just on a slide.
You betcha, Jane.
I'll do it for you, Chase. No problem. I'll
Okay,
put it in the
sweet.
chat.
Perfect. Thank
Thanks.
you.
All right. If anybody else has any questions, you can go ahead and put it in the chat.
Looks like we might have. So I'm probably out of order here a little bit, but so zone at 61st and Yale. So the evening and Sunday zone that covers 61st and Yale is that's the microlink zone 4. So again, that only operates in the evenings and on Sundays. Daytime, there's not a microlink zone at 61st and Yale. There's one fairly close. It is only about a mile away from microtransit, the microlink zone 7. But there's only evening and Sunday microlink service there. Did I say zone? Yeah, zone 4. Casey, I'm reading your message. Yeah. So, just kind of skimming through the comments. Yeah, CK, just to kind of maybe add a little bit more context to kind of what we would really like to see whenever you submit a complaint or something. If at all possible, please give the vehicle number. That really, in time, that really helps those investigations. Sometimes we'll get complaints submitted to us, and there's just not enough information for us to really even start to investigate it. And so, and I'm sure that's not the case with you, but just please, the more details, the better we can do. So, and yeah, I see your hand raised. CK, you can go ahead and go off mute if you're able to.
Okay. There, it wouldn't let me unmute. Yeah,
Okay,
a lot of the times, the buses, it'll have that big old TV or whatever there, and it'll block the number, and they know that it'll block the number. So therefore, it's like they can be rude to you and everything, and you can't report it because you can't see their number.
Oh, the operator number is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
And then they won't give you their name, they can, because they're rude like that because they're in charge. And so I don't know. I think out of the whole Tulsa Transit, you have maybe like a handful that are nice and decent. The rest of them, they're rude, they're angry, they're upset. It's like, it's not our fault that you chose this job. If you're not happy, you need to move on. But that you just get nothing but attitude, and they feel like because they're in charge, they can treat you any kind of way. I think they think a lot of the people that's on the bus are homeless, but not everybody is homeless. So you can't talk to everybody like they're homeless.
Yeah. And CK, we can go ahead and feel free to reach out to me. So we can kind of investigate those. Well, I'm really sorry that you've had that experience. We have a lot of great drivers, but I know that people make decisions that they shouldn't sometimes, and so I'm sorry that that's affected you. So we really do our best to investigate that, to correct behavior, anything like that. So I apologize on behalf of us. So, Clem, I'm looking through. Do you see any more comments kind of in the chat here?
I think we covered. I think we covered most of everything. We do have a couple more minutes here, guys. So if you want to ask anything, you can just go ahead and put it in the chat. I'll just make a comment. With the whole drivers thing, it when you think about interactions, I mean, there's drivers have to interact with, hundreds of people in a day. So, every interaction is not going to be the best interaction. And then you also have to think about it from their perspective too. They have some riders that they have good interactions with, and then they have some riders that are rude to them. So it's obviously we have a standard that we train them and we want them to uphold. It doesn't always happen, and sometimes it doesn't happen and we're not aware of it. But the best thing that you can do as a rider is to let us know, because we can't do anything unless we have any type of formal report. And I think you did say that you have filed complaints, but that is the best way to let us know what's going on, because otherwise we wouldn't. But yeah, I do apologize again, for you having to deal with that. I see some more questions. Um, how often do they clean the buses? I'm not sure. I want to say every day, but I don't know if that's accurate or not.
Yeah, I believe we clean the buses every night.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yep.
Um, and
CK, feel free to unmute yourself again. So thanks to you for using the hand raising feature. So, but yeah, you can go ahead. So, maybe you were taking it down. Sorry.
um, okay, so I see a question here saying, can we get, I'm assuming it means, can we get service back on Sunday? So right now on Sunday, we have the Microlink and the 700 running. So the Microlink, for those of you that may not know, the Microlink is essentially a supplement to the traditional fixed route model. If you see on the left hand side, you see the lines here that represent the fixed route buses. The Microlink, it and Chase can explain it better, but it's a lot more efficient when it comes to running on specifically Sunday and nighttime. That's why we have it replace the fixed route services during the time, because with Microlink, it's on demand. So it's only running when people are using it. Whereas with a fixed route, you can have a fixed route running with a bus driver that needs to get paid with a bus that's accumulating, gas mileage, and no one's on the bus. So, the Microlink presents a little more efficiency to that. So that's why we replaced the Sunday and the nighttime service with Microlink.
Yeah, and I can even just add in a little bit to that. I don't want to give a history lesson, but we can talk about this for a long time. So whenever we brought microtransit service in, one, that was a cost neutral replacement to the evening fixed route service that was there before. Whenever we used to have the Sunday service, so that service was what's called a deviated fixed route. So it is a bus that has a designated route. But what that would do is, because it's a deviated service, customers could call in and request that bus to deviate off route, let's say 2 blocks or something like that, and go pick them up. And then that bus would have to come back to the corridor and then continue on. That sounds like wonderful service, but in practice, if you kind of think about it, every person using that bus route asking the bus to deviate off course and come back, that really opens up the door to a lot of challenges, right? So one, the bus gets really delayed, so it becomes unreliable. It's another factor that you have to manage in terms of the operator and whether they're, let's say they deviated off route, but they actually went up a couple blocks and then went back on route once they picked up their customer. Well, they might have just skipped 2 or 3 blocks, even though they weren't supposed to. They could have still done that. And so, like it kind of opens up that door to something that's enforcement's a lot more tricky. It's more unreliable service, and ultimately the ridership on our evening that evening deviated service, and Sundays. I'm calling it evening, but it was evening and Sundays. It wasn't. It was pretty low, especially for the amount of money that we were spending on it. And so, really, Microlink, it's not a fixed route bus, and we recognize the distinction and the differences there. But it is a much cheaper alternative to, and it is a much what we believe, and we're looking at the ridership numbers. It's a much better service than the deviated fixed route, which was really all that we had the budget to operate at the time. So I recognize that everybody has different preferences. Overall, that service actually has been pretty successful for us. But again, we always welcome feedback. We do have a good amount of riders who do like the MicroLink service. But we hear you. I mean, please continue to give us feedback there. But it does kind of we hear all voices. So.
Also, I just want to let you guys know. So we're recording this meeting, and we're gonna put it on our website. So if you missed some of what Chase said in his presentation, you can always go back and look at it again. And then also, we have another in-person meeting tomorrow at our Midtown Memorial Station, and that's gonna be, check the time. That's gonna be at 2 o'clock. So if you guys want to come and join us, I mean, we're going to be going over the same thing, but if you have any more questions that you might want to ask us in person, feel free to. But
Ackerman Yusuf, we are checking on the buses. I'm pretty sure that our buses are cleaned every night. Because I think it's a part of like the refueling process and the bus wash and everything. I'll verify that. But one, I think the takeaway is that you feel like our buses aren't clean. And so we've definitely noted that and make sure that we're kind of following those practices. So, a bus can get cleaned. These buses are being, sometimes especially a BRT bus, you're talking thousands of people using that thing every day. So they can get dirty kind of fast. But that is something that we really do take a priority in. I know that we really try to clean our buses as much as possible. Now, some of our buses are older, but we really do our best at trying to make sure that they're clean. So. And CK, I see your hand raised, but I just saw your comment in the chat. So the seats need to be cleaned too with a steam cleaner. Actually, part of that reason we've actually transitioned to a lot of our newer buses are coming with a different material on the seat rather than some of the cloth kind of Velcro feeling material, because I think it's easier to clean. So that's actually great feedback and also something that we're trying to address. So. And same to you, Todd, with the cleaning. Yep. So, CK, did you have another comment? Feel free to unmute yourself there.
Yes, thank you. So one of the main reasons I wanted to even get on here today, because you guys were talking about the MicroLink. Okay, so I've been having this problem, and it's getting more and more and more and more frequent, and it is like a headache. And like when I tell you I was upset, I was extremely upset yesterday. So catching the MicroLink, because my daughter, she's gone to union schools her whole life. So we're currently out of the district, but they still allow us to come. So that's the reason why we have to take the microtransit and the 2 other buses. Okay. So when I get off of work, I set the MicroLink to pick us up around the time that she gets out of school. Okay. Now, if the time is not available, it will not allow you to book it. So that shouldn't be a problem. But like yesterday, we sat there for a whole hour, an hour and like 15 or 20 minutes before they finally said your ride is not available. And they just dropped us. And then they tried to make us wait a whole nother hour to book another link. And I was like, no, this is unacceptable. You guys done this to me like 4 or 5 times. And I called in and I told them, I was like, yo, we were waiting. The bus was supposed to be here between 1:45 and 1:55. It is now 2:15. And now you guys want to tell me that my ride is not available. That's unacceptable. When that happens, they need to have a backup, or they need to put another bus on that in that zone or whatever. But she was like, "Well, you're gonna have to wait until 2:45," and I'm like, "It's 2:15. I've been waiting since 1:35. You want me to wait a whole another hour for another bus? Like, that's ridiculous." And she was like, "Well, there's nothing I can do about it, and you can go on to the website and go to their meeting tomorrow." And I was like, "Yes, because this is becoming more and more frequent. You guys have done this to me 4 and 5, 6 times within the last month or so. And if you guys don't have enough
Um,
drivers, then say that. Don't book the time if you're not going to be there. You guys hold us accountable, and we have to be there 2 minutes. They can wait 2 minutes, but we have to wait for them for 10 minutes. And then I waited for an hour and a half, and they still didn't come.
hey, CK, can I clarify? So you had booked a trip, so you
Yeah.
got the confirmation that the trip was supposed to be there. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And then
Okay.
after the time, they said you have to wait 10 minutes. So I waited after 10 minutes. So it was booked from 1:45 to 1:55. Okay, I waited until 2:15, and they finally told me. They was like, "Oh, well, your bus is not available." And so then I call in and I was like, "Well, whoever you guys book next, you guys need to bump me ahead of them because I've been waiting an hour and a half already." So they're, "Oh, we can't do that. Unfortunately, that's not how it works." I said, "Yes, it does, because when I'm on the bus, you guys will bump my destination to get dropped off to go pick up somebody else all the time. So how come I can't do that to someone else?"
Yeah, it sounds like that was um, I mean, it may have been an abandoned trip. I'm not sure. So please reach out to me and give me your contact information. That way we can kind of like look at that. Because one, I mean, again, if that's happening yesterday, like we can investigate that really quickly and find out what happened. So please, I'm going to put my email back up here just so you make sure that you have it. So that
Okay.
is CPHILLIPS at metrolinkok.org.
Okay.
Um,
I
so
took a screenshot.
Okay, great. Yeah. Because and please, I mean, send me an email, give me the details, the time, like your name and stuff. That way we can kind of investigate that. Because it sounds like that was an abandoned trip, and so yeah,
But it's
it's
happened more than once. It's like frequently for the last month or so. I've been getting like 5 or 6 of them. Like, they'll have me wait past my time, and then they want to tell me, "Oh, well, your ride is not available." And I'm like, "How many times are you guys going to do this to me?"
yeah. Because I mean, I'm sorry, I'm really sorry to hear that. That is, I don't believe that happens too often. Generally, because that's a metric we monitor. Like we look at the number of trips abandoned and stuff like that. And we look at failed trips for a variety of reasons. And overall, we're not seeing a lot of that. And so I need to look into like what's causing that issue. If it's, I don't know, is it operation related, is it technology related? What's the issue there? We want to investigate that. So, and we'll do that proactively. So please reach out to me. So yeah.
Okay, I will.
And I'm just kind of taking notes here as well. And so I'm just going to go ahead and like write your name down on that. Yeah, I do apologize. That is, yeah, not acceptable. So
Yeah, so we have about 7 more minutes. So if anyone else has any questions related to the upcoming changes, please let us know. And again, if we don't have time for it today, then you can join us tomorrow at MMS at 2 o'clock. I see one person with their hand up. Could you tell us your name if you don't mind?
Kobe.
Okay, go ahead.
And my question is, why are riders, and this has nothing to do with the upcoming changes, but I will say, why are riders on link assist vehicles not allowed to utilize, or were not allowed to utilize previously, the mobile tickets via GoPath?
one, I mean, as far as like any technology change, right, you kind of have to implement that within phases. And so one, that's actually there's like that was a rather complicated process. So I couldn't tell you why it wasn't implemented initially. I think with Link Assist and any kind of ADA thing, we want to make sure that we're you know doing that properly, making sure that it's a reliable thing. Um, so I don't have a great answer for you outside of the fact that like it took us a little bit of time to get there. But the fact that you are able to book on GoPass, it's a pretty, we're getting a lot of like positive recognition from that, even outside of our own community. So that's a fairly innovative task that we're able to do through there. So, I do ask that some of the limitations that we have on the technology side, GoPass is, we don't have our own coders, or we have a lot of technology IT folks, but they're not developing apps. Like that product is actually developed by another transit agency, DART, out of Dallas, and so we do have some limitations, both with what like their developers are doing and how that impacts our service and fits with our policies and requirements, as well as, and then there's also overlap with interactions with other software, whether it's the booking software, Rideco, things like that. That's a rather complicated process. So, but we are happy that we have it today. So, I'm not sure if that answers your question, but.
All right, we got about 5 more minutes here. And I just want to reiterate, Brianna sent it in the chat, but if you guys do have any comments or complaints or anything like that, e-alerts, the link that she sent, that's the best way to get it to us, because that way we can do a formal investigation, and whatever is happening that's not supposed to be happening, that's the best way we can rectify it. But yeah, I don't see any more questions. I'll just give you guys a few seconds. If you have any questions related to the things that are changing, just let us know real quick, and we'll try to answer them. We had a couple questions about bus shelters, and I think Casey answered it. So you can request a bench or a shelter at a stop, and we'll have to evaluate it to see if it fits in our policy.
Yeah, and that's based on ridership, really. So just to kind of, again, providing some structure to requests from the public. There's a certain threshold that it has to meet, as far as like ridership activity to get a bus or a shelter at a certain location, because that has come to at a cost. I think to install a shelter is somewhere between like $7,000 to $12,000 or something like that. So that's rather expensive. Benches are obviously not that much, but again, you are talking about providing an ADA pad. There's concrete work there. A stop is entirely different, right? We can put stops in most places, assuming it's safe and things like that. But there is some structure to provide some guidance on us adding benches and shelters. So.
And just Chase, do when they want to request it, do they request it through e-alerts, or how do they do it?
They could do it through. You could do it through e-alerts. I would probably recommend going through the customer service center. Yeah, so that would probably be the best. It would get routed to myself, as well as maintenance staff and things like that. So.
All right. Well, thank you. So yeah, so we're hopefully that answers most of you guys' questions. Again, tomorrow we're all going to be in person at the Midtown Memorial Station at 2:00. So if you guys still have any questions between now and then, just feel free to join us. Once again, the number is right there if you want to take a screenshot, and it's also in the chat if you need it. So again, the customer service is there to help, to answer any questions that you guys might have. Again, if you want to request that a stop or a bus shelter be put in, you can do it through that. Again, if you have any complaints, you can use the e-alerts feature and put it in through there so that it can come to us formally. But yeah, well, thank you guys for coming. Thank you, Chase, for the presentation. Very, very informative. And thank you guys for getting up early and joining us. We will be at MMS tomorrow once again. So I'm gonna wrap this up. And then again, also this meeting is gonna be on our website in a few. So if you want to go back over all the changes that Chase mentioned, you'll be able to do that. So yeah, so I hope you guys have a great day, and we'll see some of you tomorrow, hopefully.
Thanks, everyone.